Hello everybody, today I'm going to be talking about the newest version of, or incarnation I guess, of Lorcana. This is the Luminari Chroniken. So basically this game is a departure from the player versus player format that Lorcana has been using these past year, or these past 11 months I should say, because it's not even a year old. And they have now introduced a play against the environment scenario, which is like an LCG. So if you're familiar with the Lord of the Rings or Arkham Horror LCGs, where you, on your own or with other players, can play against a deck, which basically poses the challenges to you. In this case, this deck is a personification of Ursula and her minions and the things that she would be able to do. Then you're quite familiar with the way the game is played and what you can expect from it. We were going to do an unboxing, but sometimes life happens, so we basically unboxed it yesterday, and then we made our first foray into the Luminari Chroniken. And I would like to talk about two things today. I would like to talk about the actual product, and then I would like to talk about our experience with the product. I will not talk about the content of the game itself. So I'm not going to tell you what kind of challenges Ursula is going to pose to you, because we didn't look at any of the cards up front. We didn't look at any unboxings. We didn't look at the cards in the app, where you can actually find them to take a look and read them, even if you don't have the product itself. We also didn't look at the pre-constructed decks that come with it, because the game comes with one challenge deck, let's call it the Ursula deck, and two fully serviceable 60 card decks with cards from various sets. So there are some cards from the new set, and then there are some cards from older sets. And basically you can use these, but you don't have to. You can play with up to 4 people, and then of course if you have more than 2 people and you don't have more than 2 pre-designed sets decks in this set, they would have to bring their own. But it says at every possible point in the rule book that of course you can always make your own decks. You don't even have to use the ones that have been pre-constructed. Now, what do you get when you buy this? First of all, you get a lot of stuff in paper, which we really like. So the decks come in paper, so no plastic there. They also come in this infamous holder thingy, which also contains these terrible, and might I point out, this color matching is terrible. This purple pink thing, it's unbelievably bad. Counters. It comes with another set of counters which you have to punch out, and the quality is just as bad as it has been from day one with the starter decks. It is flimsiest cardboard. When you try to take it out, it starts tearing immediately. We were being very careful, and still it tore. It bends. It's just cheap. You get a play mat, which has a beautiful artwork piece on one side. It is really lovely. And then it has the actual play area. And might I add, you really need this because it guides you through the game and it really helps. Here it tells you the steps that Ursula will take. It also tells you how many cards she gets to draw, because that changes both with the number of players on your end, but also with the progress that she's making. You track the number of cards by using this weird thing. And then you have a really long legend line, because she needs to get to 40 and each player separately needs to go to 20. Now you have one line, and they expect you to track the progress using 3 different tokens on that line. It doesn't work. So what we did, and I really hate when this happens, we had to scavenge off of another game. We took big MTG spin down life counters, and we counted up our own legends from 0 to 20 using these. So you have to supplement from the get-go. this is paper of the cheapest kind. And we're talking about a product that costs almost 60 euros. This is Ravensburger. So they have connections into the board gaming world and into the puzzles, jigsaw world, because that's what they do. And really, seriously, this is what they give you for 60 euros. Because you could say, okay, there is money to be paid for the IP, yes. But the Harry Potter Hogwarts Battle card game retails at about 60 euros as well. And you get a completely made of cardboard play area. You get way more cards. You get all kinds of gadgets. You get all kinds of goodies. You get all kinds of high-end products, like, for example, you get metal coins to tracks as trackers and stuff. So 60 euros for this, for the IP, that's a rip-off. And you also get more than 180 cards in the Harry Potter Hogwarts Battle base set. So don't get me started on, you have to pay for the IP, because Harry Potter, the IP isn't exactly cheap either. You also get this, it's supposed to be the rule book. It leaves a lot of questions open, which we found out during gameplay where we were unsure how to play it. So we just winged it. And I believe that we may have made a wrong decision and that we then stuck with. And we even in game questioned it. And then we were like, okay, we've been doing this all the time, so we're going to continue. And we got hammered. Although we may inadvertently have cheated. But that's fine. You also get these arena cards, which basically detail how Ursula is going to play. And you have got 4 versions. This is the easiest one. We used this and we lost. But that doesn't mean anything, because the gameplay itself is superb, and I'm going to come to this. Then you also get this Ursula card, which is essentially an oversized Ursula card. It does nothing except present the artwork. It is in foil. It is really beautiful, and it's a really lovely game piece, which I am going to frame. And then you get, as I said, 3 decks. The decks look normal with the exception of the Ursula deck. It's got a different back so that you can tell them apart. And all of the other cards, some of them look slightly different. They have a little tentacle piece on the front, but the back is just exactly like a normal card. And even if it's a doubled up card, so for example, you've got Yen Sid in this, but you also have Yen Sid in the 4th set, and they do the same thing. They look slightly different, but they do the same thing. So they would be totally legal in a tournament, I would say, because they do exactly the same thing. And the 2 decks that you get are Ruby Amber and Steel Amethyst. Now, even before we started playing, we were talking and we hadn't even looked at anything, and we had both agreed that we both hate playing Ruby. Ruby is the color that neither of us likes. I'm an Amethyst plus either Amber or maybe Emerald. And she definitely prefers Steel Amber, Steel something or other, Steel Blue, for example, Steel Sapphire. So when we opened the box and we took a look at the decks, we decided that I'm going to go with the Amber Amber Ruby, not because I like Ruby, but because I had been working with Amber most recently, because I've been constructing a Madrigal Amber Amethyst deck. And so I had been spending more time with Amber. And since she is an excellent steel player, we decided, okay, in order to give us an edge, she's going to take the steel deck, which she's most familiar with. And we set out. And gameplay actually works very, I would say, intuitively, in that we're still not sure if Ursula gets to draw her full hand at the beginning, because it says she draws 1 card and she doesn't mulligan. So we're not sure if we should have given her more cards, but even with only giving her 1 card, we got hammered. Because the way this works is you each need to get to 20 and she needs to get to 40 legends. You kind of go, okay, 40 legends, you know, we're going to be at 20 each before, you know, you can say legend. Not so. She is a formidable opponent. I'm not going to give it away, but you really need to experience it. And I would suggest to go into the game blindly. So don't look at her deck, but, you know, take the decks that are there, because the decks that are given you are excellent. They are really well constructed, unlike the pre-constructed starter decks for this set, which we didn't like. One of them was okay-ish and the other one was a total disaster. That was the one that I was playing with. It's completely unplayable. It has mainly it has more than 12, it has more than 10 uninkable cards. It has very high cost cards where you're like, well, I can't ink most of the time, and then I get these high cost cards. What the hell is going on here? Whoever constructed this deck doesn't know anything about deck construction, because it doesn't work. Whereas the second one was good. These two decks are excellent. They are really well balanced, and the way we played it was that you share the battlefield. So basically you can decide who blocks when she attacks, you know. So basically it can be either player. Each of you has their own graveyard where you put the destroyed cards, and you also have your own draw deck. We also shared the use of items, and at some point we were questioning if this was possible, but then we kept going. So basically we've got Ursula's Cauldron, and it's of course an amethyst card, so my partner in crime drew it, but I made use of it, just like I gave her use of my lantern, which allows you to reduce the cost of ink for a new character that you're going to play by 1. At some point we were saying, is this actually how this should be played? But then we continued doing it, because if we hadn't, we would have lost even more quickly. The gameplay is kind of intuitive. You each draw your 7 cards, and you don't draw on your first turn. And she draws 2 cards, and then basically they get revealed, and then you always work from left to right. So whenever a new card gets added, you work from the leftmost one to the rightmost one. And again, here we end up with this non-serviceable playmat, because as soon as you start tapping cards, she's running out of space here very, very quickly. Again, what I would have done is I would have actually made this completely neutral. No colors, no artwork, but so that it can be reused for further games, of which I hope there will be many, because things like hand, ink, scenario deck, discard pile, those would be the same. And even here, you know, how the turn works, you know, in which order she resolves what, should be the same. It shouldn't change. So you could have actually given this out for 60 euros with a proper playmat. And then next time round, people can either just get a smaller version of the player versus the environment decks, so basically just the decks, or they can buy the full-fledged product with another playmat if this one is out of production at some point. Or you could also say, in addition, people can get this in a really good version for 3 euros. Because, I mean, seriously, this is not going to cost much if it's cardboard. Because this is Ravensburger. And they're producing mass stuff. So the gameplay itself took a long while, but it basically proved to us what we had been thinking all along. The issue with Lorcana is it's too fast. You get very, very many important and nice cards, which you can never play. So, for example, there is a dragon, which is 9. I think it's the queen in dragon form. It's a legendary creature, and it costs 9. You're never going to play it. You're never going to play it, because you're never going to get to 9 ink with a red deck, unless you play blue with it. But you know, who's gonna do blue red? It's not even in the meta. Not that I'm a meta player, but it doesn't make sense. You know, the two don't really gel. So we always said what Lorcana needs is something that's like the Commander format. One where you have to where the gameplay is slowed by either taking away legends, and there are some cards that do that, but not many, and not in all colors, or where you just say you don't go for 20, you go for 30, just to have more that's going on, just to really sit down and have strategies come to life and not just tactics. Now in this game, since it takes a lot longer, I think this whole thing, including everything, took us almost 2 hours. Okay, we had to unbox, we had to basically set it up, although the setup doesn't take that long. But it really showed the depth that Lorcana can have if you move away from it's just 20 legends. So this is something that we definitely need. We need more of these boxes because they are brilliant. We also need a move away from the 20. I think 20 legends is ridiculous. I've always said it. I also think that what we're looking for is interrupts, as they were called in the past in MTG, or now they're called instants, so that you can actually act on your opponent's turn to mitigate what they're trying to do to you. And that is going to add that bit of strategy and tactics that the game is lacking at the moment. So also this would mitigate the problem of whoever goes first usually wins. But the way Ursula is structured shows you that this is totally possible. There is no interrupt or instance in this game, so it's not like she can do anything on your turn or you can do anything on her turn, but we see this on the cards and we hope that this is actually going to happen. But what you see is the beauty of Lorcana unfolding when you give the game more time. Plus, it's fun. We were constantly debating what we're going to do. We were constantly trying to find the optimal play. We were trying to mitigate for the others' problems with their decks, because, of course, no deck is ever perfect. And it was a great, great game. So, what were our next steps? We took a long look at the decks that had been prepared, and we really liked them, but we started tweaking them. I've tweaked mine already. And she's going to do the same. And we're going to definitely take her up, because we do want to open the golden envelope, because it comes with a golden envelope that you're only allowed to open if you win against her. Otherwise, she will curse you into eternity. We have no idea what's in there. We are also not going to watch any unboxings or anything where anybody is going to open it and show it, because we believe that it's the same for every single game. Unfortunately, although it's a group game, it's only one card that's in there. So I would have expected it to be 2, because the game comes out of the box for 2 players. So I would have wanted to have 2, because now it's like, you know, I hope it's an enchanted, but probably not. But we'll see what's in there. We will probably do a little video when we get to open it, but we're not going to actually put it into a playthrough or anything, because we don't want to spoil it for anybody. So the art on the Ursula deck is beautiful. I am going to do a video on the art in Lorcana and problems with boosters and problems with pull rates and problems with market values separately. So I'm not going to talk about the artwork on the player decks, but I'm going to talk about the artwork on the Ursula decks. And it is stunning. These cards are much more beautiful than most of the cards you get from the normal Lorcana decks. And it is because they went all out. Probably they got free rein from Disney with regard to altering the look and feel, because of course it's a villain deck, so you have normal cards that, you know, are turned more villainous, and they're turned more eerie, and they're turned more frightening, because that's what this is about. Ursula is there to frighten. It's not a walk in the park. And they weren't as bland as the normal Lorcana cards. I mean, I don't know how many Auroras we have, but there's only one Aurora that I can tell apart from the other ones, and that's the one where she's sitting around with the birds around her, because the rest are always like blue dress, blonde girl walking around, where I'm like, okay, so you know, if this is Aurora, then please never ever print her on a card again because it's boring. But these cards, artistically speaking, are anything but boring, and from a game mechanic perspective, they are so far from boring. They're gonna make you cry. So do we recommend this? Yes, we do recommend it. We believe that for what you get with regard to production value, the price is too high. It should be 30 euros because the IP itself isn't that valuable, and printing those cards isn't that difficult and that expensive either. If you want to get 60 euros, then please up the value. There is a game that Ravensburger puts out with the same IP, Disney, with a similar feel to it, and that's Villains, where you get playboards that are around this size, maybe a little bit smaller, but they are made of full card stock. They are like normal cardboard boards for board games, and they retail at less. So they can do it. They have the resources. They have the people to talk to. At the moment, from a production value standpoint, I'm disappointed. From a gameplay point, I'm not. I hope that in the next version of the Luminari Chroniken, we will see 2 sets. One with a really good playboard that is generic, that can be reused. And then one where you only get the cards for those people who don't want the shenanigans and this crap. So that's all from me. And have a great weekend and enjoy the game. Bye.